Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Centipede Geek. Today is May 28th and that means that every month I do my two videos, my best films of May 2012 and my films to avoid of May of 2012. Now there are a lot of cool films in May. I just think that May was a great month for films, in theaters especially, and even on DVD there have been really cool films in May. If you ask me, May has been a phenomenal month for movies. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. May, we started off, with our first week of movies. I'm going to do the theater movies first, just so you guys know. DVD second, theaters first. We started off on May 4th with The Avengers. And The Avengers was just a great film. I loved The Avengers. Definitely, Avengers was the best film out of May. Just everything was cool. Great superheroes, great acting. Watch my review of The Avengers for more info. The Avengers was a great film. The week after, on May 11th, we had a film called The Dark Shadows. And The Dark Shadows was also a very cool film. I went into the film, if you watch my review, not thinking I was going to like it too much, and I walked out pleasantly surprised. I actually liked the film a lot. I give Dark Shadows about a 9 out of 10. I thought Dark Shadows was very cool. Not as cool as The Avengers, but it was still a very cool film. Definitely, though, the best film of May is The Avengers. Then, after that, we had a film, May 18th, called Battleship, and that's where May kind of went downhill. Not too much, though. May has been still a pretty good month for movies. May 18th, Battleship came out, and Battleship, if you watch my review, I just uploaded it today. It's a very ridiculous movie, but still a decent movie. Overall, it was okay. Watch my review for more info. Then, just a few days ago, I watched Men in Black 3. I did a double feature. I watched Men in Black 3 and Chernobyl Diaries. Now, Men in Black 3 was a very cool film. I thought this first one was pretty good. I thought the second one was okay, kind of ridiculous, had a few parts, but it was still pretty cool. I liked the dog in the second one a lot, had a lot of comedic moments with him. And I thought the third one was really cool. So if I had to rank them in order of which ones I liked the most, I'll say I like Men in Black 1 the best, Men in Black 3 as the second best, and then Men in Black 2 as the worst out of the three. Not that Men in Black 2 is a terrible film, because it's not. Just out of those three, that's how I would rank them. Now, Men in Black 3, as I was giving my opinion on it, very cool. I don't want to give too many away if you haven't seen it, but definitely the ending of Men in Black 3, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The ending of Men in Black 3 is definitely the best thing about it. Not going to say any more because I don't want to give away spoilers. Then we had a film that same week on May 25th called Chernobyl Diaries, and this film critically got a lot of mixed reviews. Advertising-wise, it looked like the film was a found-footage film, but technically it's not a found-footage film. If you've seen it in theaters, you know that it's not. But the way it was advertised, it looked like one. And even in parts of Chernobyl Diaries, it felt like a found-footage film. Kind of a fun fact if you didn't know, Chernobyl Diaries, the film is not true, but the actual Chernobyl disaster is true. And I just thought that was really interesting, that the actual disaster of the little electrical thing exploding and the town being deserted overnight, that's true. Radiation causing their faces and stuff, that was all true, but the actual, the movie of itself of Chernobyl Diaries is not. Anyways, I thought Chernobyl Diaries was actually a pretty good film. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Nothing really wrong with it. I didn't go into expecting it to be an amazing movie, and it wasn't. But overall, it was a pretty good movie. I went into it not expecting much, and I was surprised. I was like, this is actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was an original story by Oren Peli. I believe the movie was directed by a guy named Bradley Parker. I believe it was the first film he directed. Anyways, original story by Oren Peli. He's done The River, Paranormal Activity. He's doing Area 51 in 2014. He's got a pretty good movies on his playlist now. Anyways, those are all the main films that have came out this month. Definitely check all those out. All of them are definitely worth a watch. If I had to pick a film that you should kind of just not waste your time with, but it's not a terrible film, is definitely Battleship It's not a terrible film, but definitely doesn't need to be watched. You know, if I had to pick a second best film out of the theatrical films this month, it would definitely be Dark Shadows. So, listed in this order is how I would probably list them in my favorite films. Number 1 film goes to the Avengers. The second best film goes to Dark Shadows. I would say the third best film probably goes to Chernobyl Diaries. I liked that film. Fourth would go to Men in Black 3. And then the worst film theatrically this month would probably have to be Battleship. Those are all the theatrical films that I thought were worth mentioning this month. Now, we had some cool films also on DVD this month. We had a lot of cool films. We started off the month, with Chronicle. Chronicle is a very cool film. If you don't know what Chronicle is, it's a found footage kind of superhero movie about 3 kids who find a meteorite that crash landed from outer space. It crashed into the ground. Found footage film, so it has those kind of tropes. And they find it, and one of them ends up using superpowers in the wrong way. That's just a Chronicle. It's really cool. I believe it kind of it takes the found footage on sort of a twist and turn, and kind of turns the whole found footage genre like in half. It does some cool things with found footage you probably haven't seen before. So Chronicle is definitely worth a watch. Another film that I thought was worth mentioning, I actually saw this film back in theaters in January, is a film called The Grey starring Liam Neeson. Now, a lot of people, when they saw the trailer for The Grey, they thought, it was just about him killing wolves, nothing too phenomenal. But I actually found The Grey to be a very cool film. It actually is a very in-depth film about them. If you don't know what The Grey is about, it's pretty much about these plane crashes, and there's these 7 or 8 guys who are trying to survive out in the wild, and it's snowing, it's just a blizzard, they're afraid they're going to freeze to death, and there's also a pack of wolves after them, and it goes very in-depth with their personalities and their lives, and just a very heartfelt film. The Grey is definitely also worth a watch. Then we also had, I loved this film in theaters, this probably is one of my favorite films out of the series. It is my favorite film, and that's Underworld Awakening, starring Kate Beckinsale. And Underworld Awakening, definitely, I'll be honest, I've only seen the first Underworld and the fourth one. I haven't seen Rise of the Lycans, and I haven't seen Evolution. But out of the 2 that I have seen, Underworld Awakening is definitely the best. That was a cool film, a lot of cool action sequences, pretty cool plot. Overall, Underworld Awakening was a cool film, a lot of cool blood scenes, just very cool action, very driven. It wasn't uneven at all. It felt very good, and its pacing, just Underworld Awakening just had a cool vibe to it the entire time, and I just had a great time watching that in theaters. It was filmed with 3D cameras, if you don't know, and the 3D for Underworld Awakening, when I saw that in theaters, the 3D looked really cool. Anyways, definitely check that one out. Another really cool film that came out on DVD in May was a film called Mother's Day. If you don't know what Mother's Day was, Mother's Day is actually a very loose remake of an 80s film with the same title, Mother's Day. Now, the original took place in the woods. It was the mother was a lot older, a little different. The newer Mother's Day is about 3 brothers, and they recently did like a bank heist. They stole some money from a bank. They got hurt. They go to a house that used to be theirs, but no longer is. The brothers don't know that, so they break into the house, and there's a party going on in the house as they break into it, and it's pretty much kind of, I guess you would say, like a home invasion kind of film, but a very different home invasion film. The same guy who directed Saw 2, 3, and 4 did this film, so, maybe something you might want to look into. Mother's Day, though, very cool film. I loved it. I've seen the film probably 2 or 3 times now. Very cool. Check it out. Another film that came out this month that a lot of people weren't too fond of was a film called Devil Inside. Now, critically, the film did absolutely horrible. So, I thought Devil Inside was pretty good. A lot of people just didn't like it. The ending was a lot of people just like, oh, it ended out of nowhere. And, maybe it did, but myself personally, I had no problem with the ending to Devil Inside. If you don't know what Devil Inside is about, it's pretty much about a mother who committed 3 murders during an exorcism, and now her daughter, she's now in a rehab or some kind of mental institution, in some other country out of the U.S., and the daughter now wants to go see her, to get closer to her. And she also starts to watch a bunch of exorcisms to learn more about the exorcisms. So that's pretty much the plot of Devil Inside. Now, I thought Devil Inside was very cool. It had some really, really gross exorcism things. That's one of the reasons I really liked it. There's scenes of, like, the knees breaking, the elbows breaking, stuff you've probably seen before, but I thought it was cool, the Devil Inside. Devil Inside, really cool film. Definitely worth a watch. Another cool film that I wasn't too fond of until I saw the very end of the movie, and if you watch my review, you already know this, is a film called We Need to Talk About Kevin. Now, critically, the film did pretty well. I believe it got like a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. Anyways, We Need to Talk About Kevin was pretty much about a kid who just, his parents didn't have the best relationship, and let's just say the kid doesn't make the best choices in life. Now, We Need to Talk About Kevin was okay. I've recently been wanting to read the book because I thought that the book would be a lot better than the movie. The movie overall, though, it gets a lot better towards the end. Though, you might want to check it out because a lot of people have liked it. Myself, I thought it was decent. The ending scene is pretty cool. That's about it. Another really cool film that came out this month is a film called Playback. Now, Playback is pretty much about, I don't want to say too much, but it's pretty much about, it has kind of like The Ring and stuff like that, where you watch a film, and this film kind of possesses you and makes you commit murders. That's pretty much the gist of Playback. Has I believe a Christian Slater, I believe his name, Christian or Christopher. Anyways, that guy's in it. Anyways, Playback wasn't a phenomenal film. I'd probably give it, a solid 7 out of 10. Maybe even an 8. Playback was a pretty good film. Nothing phenomenal, but it had some really cool practical effects. There were a lot of cool gore scenes, About halfway through, Playback becomes a slasher film, and that's when it becomes pretty cool. But it takes a while for it to get started, so that was one of my complaints about Playback. Another cool film that came out that I actually saw in theaters was a film called Man on a Ledge. Now, critically, once again, Man on a Ledge didn't do very well, critically. But I thought Man on a Ledge was a pretty decent film. It's pretty much about a guy who wants to commit suicide, and these cops are trying to persuade him, don't do this, you don't need to do this. Anyways, but let me just say, there was more to the story than what I just said. So definitely check out Man on a Ledge. Really cool film. There's another film that came out, and that film is called The Woman in Black. That also came out today. Well, not today, but about 5 or 6 days ago. Now, Woman in Black, I thought it was decent. Nothing. I'll be honest, I wasn't too crazy about The Woman in Black. It was alright at best. I didn't like the ending at all. Very slow. To me, compared to, I've already said this in one of my videos, but compared to all the high-stakes horror films that are out there nowadays, Woman in Black just pales in comparison to them. Anyways, might be something you want to check out. Another film that came out in May was a Studio Ghibli film by the name of The Secret World of Arrietty, and this was my introduction to the Studio Ghibli films, and I thought it was a pretty cool film. I like Ponyo more, but Secret World of Arrietty was very cool, really bright, colorful, fluorescent, definitely worth a watch. But if I had to pick a best film on DVD between all of what we talked about, I'm just kind of glancing through here. If I had to pick a best film, it would definitely be either Underworld Awakening or Mother's Day. Those are probably my two favorites out of what I've talked about. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. Underworld Awakening wins the best DVD of the month. So theatrically, best, we have the Avengers. Second, theatrically, we had Dark Shadows. And if I had to pick a best DVD of the month, it would definitely be Underworld Awakening. And my second best DVD would probably be Mother's Day. But definitely, all the ones I mentioned are all definitely worth a watch. Check out The Grey, check out Chronicle. They're all very cool films. But those are just my favorites. Anyways, that's my best movies of May for 2012. Like, comment, subscribe to my page. And I'll see you guys later with another video by Centipede Geek.